Hello, everybody. Welcome in to the NBA Front Office Show. Exciting time of year. There it is. Studio Stu says, I'm out. Exciting
Studio
time of year.
Stu Show.
He's like, this is my show. I don't get to do the intro. I'm out of here.
I'm gonna
We
have
got
to
a lot
start
going
calling
on.
him Cameo Stu pretty soon
Right?
here.
I don't know why
Like,
he's been doing this lately, where he just, as soon as the show starts, he takes off. He's like, no, he wants no part of it. And then he comes back to remind me that the show's been going on for too long. We'll see if he jumps back up again in a little bit. But
that's how we'll know it's time to end.
that's how we'll know. That's how we'll know. But or it's time to feed him is probably what it is more likely. We're off to a great start here, though. Happy to have y'all here on the Front Office Show. If you're on YouTube, if you're over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, do us a favor and give us that 5-star rating and review. Busy time of year around the NBA. We're just a couple of weeks away from the NBA draft. We've got the finals going on and all the trade and free agency rumors and stuff. All that's really heating up, and we know it's going to go crazy as soon as the NBA finals end. So a lot of stuff for us to get into today. Keith, I think we just need to start right here with the Kevin Cannon. Let's do it. Let's fire this thing off.
Fire.
The Kevin Cannon, as the Kevin Durant world turns here. Keith, I mean, we've been saying it for a bit now, but the closer and closer we get to the draft and all of that, it seems like there's just more and more certainty around the NBA that Kevin Durant is not long for the Phoenix Suns, that within, I mean, any day now to within the next few weeks, he's going to wind up on another roster.
Yeah, without a doubt. There's been a lot of stuff bubbling that the Suns would like this at least agreed to, maybe not executed, because that could be something that has to wait, but at least agreed to by the draft, because it sounds like they want to be able to either use whatever draft picks they get to draft players for themselves or to turn around and trade those picks in other moves as they bolster this roster. It's been made very clear. They're going to build up around Devin Booker. I think it was Mark Stein reported Booker's expected to get a 2-year extension offer. That'll be like 2 years, a lot of money. It's just the easy way to put that. It'll be, a crap ton of money that they can tack on to the end of his current extension that he's on right now. So that would take him out another couple seasons. So I think we're getting close with Kevin Durant, like offers probably being made and the like and all that, like getting more serious, I guess is the way to put it. It's probably been a lot of what are you thinking? Where you at? What are you looking at? Now it's starting to get more serious. Brian Windhorst reported earlier today, I think it was, or maybe it was yesterday, that like Durant's expected to start to exert his influence over where he wants to go. Normally you'd be like, well, the Suns should just trade him wherever they want, if he doesn't want to be there. But for these other teams, he's 37. He only has 1 year left on his contract. If you're okay with just it being a 1-year thing, sure, go get him. But if you're looking at, hey, we want to have him in the fold for the next couple of years, then you need to kind of start getting a little more serious about, do you want to be here?
The NBA Finals are here, and right now there's still time to get in on the action with my partners at DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you take home $300 in bonus bets. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use our promo code HARDCAP. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Stay in on the action and use your $300 in bonus bets on the DraftKings same-game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. Combine multiple bets together from the same game. And if you love the thrill of live betting, DraftKings has you covered. Bet live on in-progress games right as they happen, making watching the game that much more exciting. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Pick 6 and have a shot to win cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use our promo code HARDCAP and bet just $5 on any wager, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets. That's promo code HARDCAP only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Right. Right, exactly. And that's where Durant is going to be able to direct his own landing spot. I've seen reports out there that they're going to have anywhere from 4 to 6 like really serious suitors for KD, and then we'll see ultimately what they choose. It's possible they've already, are
Sure.
far enough down the road to where they have a pretty good sense of where he's going. But the Suns did just introduce their new head coach, Jordan Ott, and so now they can really fully focus on what they're going to do with Kevin Durant. And I think it's going to be interesting to see what choices the Suns make here, Keith, in terms of what's available and what path do they actually choose, because they could really try to just maximize the draft capital you can get back for Kevin Durant, or do they try to add some players that can help them win right now alongside Devin Booker? Are they going to be patient this year and realize that, hey, maybe it's going to take getting another year of Bradley Beal's deal behind us in order to get to really turn this roster around? I'm curious to see what they prioritize in this Durant trade. Is it draft capital? Is it players? What does this really look like once the pieces start coming together?
Yeah, I don't think this is going to be one of those overwhelming packages where it's here's 4 draft picks and swaps and young talent and all this stuff. And I think in some ways the Suns are okay. Like, I'm just going to use the Spurs as an example because they've been a rumored destination. If you're the Suns and you can get like Harrison Barnes and Keldon Johnson back as the base of a package, you're probably kind of okay with that, because then you're like, all right, those are 2 helpful guys, and they have every intention of trying to be good again. So like, let's kind of keep things moving a little bit here, and I think that's huge for the Suns, because I think that's where that makes a lot more sense for them to let's just try to do it that way. So I do think that could be the direction this goes, more of a veteran player type package, maybe with a draft pick or 2 thrown in there. And again, if we stick with the Spurs, they've got all those extra draft picks that they can use in a trade. So they're in a spot where they could probably say, all right, yeah, we could kick you an extra pick or 2 because we're good. We're not giving up everything we have to go get Kevin Durant. And then we're in a spot where we're still pretty whole draft pick wise.
Well, and Keith, something that Brian Windhorst mentioned this morning, was that the projections are that as many as 3, maybe 4 of the lottery picks, not the post lottery. If you look at the post lottery picks, so many of them have been traded already. It's absurd. Here, I'll scroll down so you can see what I'm talking about. It's crazy. Of the post lottery picks, there's 3 of them that are in the hands of the original teams. That's crazy. But that a number of these lottery picks could very well be,
go down to the second round just because it's even funnier. It's not on there. Never mind.
It's not on here.
You'd have to click on full order up at the top.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just right up there at the top of the screen. But don't worry.
Oh, there it is. There it is. But
it just
anyway,
makes me laugh because you can see the second round.
Oh my God.
All of them have been moved too.
So, they've all been traded so many times. But the bottom line is that a number of these lottery picks could be available. Now, that doesn't mean that all of them are going to get traded in a Kevin Durant deal necessarily, but that does open up some possibilities. For example, I don't think San Antonio is going to move the second pick in a Kevin Durant trade, or at least I would not recommend that they do that, but they do have the 14th pick via the Atlanta Hawks. Maybe that could be in play. If Houston gets into the mix for Kevin Durant, that 10th pick is there. Toronto has been another rumored landing spot. The 9th pick is right there. So on the Kevin Durant trade front, we could see a pick that goes to Phoenix that immediately, ironically, a pick that originally came from Phoenix if it's Houston, but you could see a pick that goes to Phoenix that gets immediately used as part of a Kevin Durant trade, and you add a young player like that if you're the Suns. So that's where that urgency comes in terms of getting a deal at least agreed to by draft night.
Or let's say the Suns are going to trade Durant to the Spurs. They get the 14th pick. Then they're going to put the 14th pick in a trade to go get a veteran from, I don't know, the Trailblazers. And then the Trailblazers are like, well, we want you to select for us. We don't want whoever you pick. We want you to pick for us. So then that's why if you're the Suns, if you're getting a pick in this year's draft, you want it done ahead of the draft.
Yes.
Or at least on draft night. So that way you're doing that, because it gets a little bit harder when we've already made the pick and now we have to hope you like the guy we have, and
Because not
Portland
every team's
obviously
draft board is the same.
exactly.
Yeah.
With that, Portland obviously like Tamani Kamara plenty, and I think likes him even more now. That they got him from the Suns previous, so maybe they're just perfectly okay with taking whoever the Suns select. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the other thing with the Spurs, because I've seen a couple people say, all right, they're not going to trade 2. They've made that pretty clear. But don't they need 14 to start to rebuild some of the depth? But it's important to remember in consecutive years, the Spurs will have had Wembanyama as the first pick, Stephon Castle is another high pick, and then the number 2 pick, presumably Dylan Harper, this year. Then what you're running into if you're San Antonio is that's bing, bing, bing. Those guys will all need extended. And
Right.
I know I'm talking about already extending a guy who hasn't even been drafted yet. That's how quickly it comes in the NBA. And you don't want to be in a position where it's like, we know Wemby's getting the 30% of the cap max,
Yeah.
and we'll probably qualify for it. At least we hope. Castle, we'll see. Let's see where he develops to. Let's see where Harper, if he's number 2, develops to by its time. But you don't want to be in a position where it's like max deal, max deal, max deal, and now all your flexibility's gone. You may be there anyway, but that's why with 14, you're like, we don't then need another guy who might need extended too on the books. Let's just move that one out. Whether it's in a Durant trade or that could even be one where it's moved in another trade. That isn't Durant centric. As the Spurs look to build this out, because I am starting to get a little bit more of a sense and belief. Now it's hard because Spurs are super tight-lipped, but that they're ready to kind of push things forward. I think the De'Aaron Fox trade told us that anyway.
Sure.
Last year. Yeah, he is the Spurs point guard, just in case anybody didn't
What?
know. Like
He's not with the Kings?
Yeah, no, I knew he wasn't with the Kings. I just forgot he existed, apparently. Taylor Swift. So but it's but yeah, I think I do think you're gonna see the Spurs draft at 2 and then start to make moves, put a bunch of vets on this roster to try to win.
All right, let's jump over to another player because I agree. I think the Spurs are going to make moves to try to win. I think we're going to see maybe as many as 14 of the 15 teams in the West go into the season with a realistic goal of being a playoff caliber team and making the postseason. It's going to be.
Who are you leaving out there?
Utah.
Yeah, I think
Portland won enough at the end last season to where I think they could talk themselves into, hey, we can get something rolling here. Utah, if they got the number 1 pick, maybe that would have changed things a little bit. And maybe they do go try to win right now. I can't totally count them out, but I would say it's more likely that Portland is going to win games next season over Utah.
Yeah, you have to be really careful if you're Utah that you don't chase something that's ultimately a futile goal of making a play-in tournament. Now, Jazz fans are like, forget that, man. We pulled the plug 2 years when we could have been a play-in team, and then we bottomed out last year. And look at what it got us, the 5th pick in the draft.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to argue with them too much. There's been some thought out there that the Jazz may go kind of not all in, but may look to, rather than, hey, we're just selling off Clarkson and Sexton to the best, highest bidder. It may be, hey, we're actually going to make moves to bring guys in around Markkanen and push things forward. So we'll see. But yeah, someone will pivot. Like, is there a world where New Orleans says, you know what, we're going to move some of the vets and we're going to go super young and kind of play it out that way? Yeah, I could see that kind of being the way that plays out too. So we'll see ultimately where this goes. But I would lean with you. I just didn't know if you were going to throw a curveball at me and be like, I think it'll be this team that kind of bottoms out. But I'm with you in the West.
Well, I do think there's going to be, like, as much as we're looking right now, we look at the market and the East, there's going to be some teams that say, hey, things are wide open. Let's go be a buyer, right? The Raptors, maybe, the Pistons, maybe the Orlando Magic. These are clubs that are going to be buyers, right? And then you look at the West, and like I said, there's probably 14 teams that are going for it. Who knows? Maybe the Jazz make win now moves too. But somebody is going to look at the market and go, well, hell, if all these teams are buying, maybe now is a good time to sell. Maybe there can be some real value with selling out there on the market right now. I don't know who that's going to be, I think there will be at least one team that makes a surprise move where you go, oh, okay, I wasn't expecting them to offload that player to a team that's looking to go win.
Yeah, and I don't want to I don't want to step on the offseason that hasn't even started yet,
Sure.
but that could make the like early trade market, like that period from mid-December into the trade deadline, so that first month, even more interesting because the West, again, really good example. Somebody who's going to go into the year like, yeah, we can be a playoff team or a playing tournament team. By Christmas is at the latest is going to be like, nope, not happening. And that's where if you sell early, you could set the market rather than let the market be set for you, because we will eventually, we do know we will run out of buyers. Like it just, that's how
Yeah.
it goes. So it could behoove teams, let's get off contracts earlier than what it is, and we'll bottom out because it is expected to be another fairly strong draft class at the top of the draft.
All right, let's jump over to the other big name aside from Kevin Durant that's out there, and that's Giannis Antetokounmpo. Nothing yet definitive. Although, Keith, did you see this morning making the rounds was some comments he made to a Brazilian news outlet where Giannis
Yeah.
said, like, hey, he's enjoying I'm paraphrasing. He's enjoying the finals and he's looking forward to getting back there with the Bucks. I'm like, okay. So maybe he's tipping his hand right there that he ultimately isn't going to want to leave Milwaukee. Brian Windhorst mentioned this morning as well that there is no trade market for Giannis right now because he hasn't requested a trade at this point. But there's also a lot of reporting that if he does, it'll probably be after the finals, sometime, mid to end of June. That's when, that type of a conversation will actually take place. So the bottom line is we're all just kind of waiting to get something definitive. I will say, though, it looks a lot better for Bucks fans that want to see Giannis stay right now than it did, say, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think when their season ended and Damian Lillard's on the shelf for a chunk of next year, it really felt like, man, this might be it for Giannis and the Bucks. I even wrote a whole thing about it where I kind of got in there a little, and I was a little like, man, this is tough. So yeah, I am very nice. Well done.
Yawn. Yes.
I
I
am
couldn't help
very
myself.
I am very like okay if he stays in Milwaukee. Like I a lot of times when we get this far down the road, I want to see a guy finish where he started. I just think some guys are it's more special, their relationship with their city than other players. And I just feel like that we're there with the Bucks. I fully got it if he was like, hey, I've done everything I could do here. I want to be moved. I wasn't
Sure.
gonna get angry or anything, but yeah, I wouldn't mind if he finishes out there. But it's gonna be now you take him off the market. Now do you team or two that might have been not so in on Durant? Do they jump in on Durant?
Mm-hmm.
Does another team say, hey, you know what? We're gonna put somebody out there that maybe we weren't gonna be putting out there available via trade because now look what we could get for him because now we're not waiting on a Giannis trade to be the thing that runs first. So
That's
I think
really interesting. And you know what that reminds me of? Carmelo Anthony and Darren Williams. Remember that back in the day where it was where Carmelo Anthony's getting traded? Where's it? Oh my gosh, he's going to go to the Knicks, and then suddenly, boom, Darren Williams is getting traded,
yeah.
and it was like the Jazz saw that was the package that they could potentially get, and said, "Well, damn, okay, we'll take that if you'll give us that for Darren Williams," and off they went. That's an interesting thought there, Keith, that I hadn't considered before. That maybe some team sees what was available for Giannis and says, "Well, we'll take that for our guy," and then something comes out of left field.
Yeah, we were just talking Jazz, right? Let's say the Jazz we're not trading Markkanen. We're gonna run this thing with Markkanen, and we're gonna try to do our best. All right, Giannis is on the table. Durant goes wherever Durant goes. Man, we might have the next best guy available via
Right.
trade that we could throw out there. Or I do think we're gonna see some crazy stuff this summer because I just think the aprons, the fact that the league feels pretty wide open. I think the Pacers beating the Thunder in game one. Now, if they go on to get walked in the next three and it's over in five, that'll change it back a little bit. I think the Pacers getting that win maybe has some teams like, all right, maybe we can beat OKC.
Yeah.
Denver almost took them down, but Pacers have beaten them. Maybe we can get in there and get beat these guys, and we're not all playing for second in the conference and all this other stuff. So I think we may see a lot more things happen that we weren't necessarily expecting because the league feels so open.
Yeah, I think that's there's some truth to that. That the league is so open, that's going to create a lot of movement. And the other thing to keep in mind, like when we're talking about when this is going to happen, well, the NBA tends to not like stuff coming out during the finals, right?
Correct.
They don't want that. They want the focus to be on the finals. Like if there was, could you imagine Adam Silver, his response if there was a Lakers, Knicks, Warriors 3-team trade,
Oh my
but
God.
before game 3 of the NBA.
Yeah.
I mean, it would just be because that would just completely overshadow the finals. So teams understand that. And so I think we're a short time away here. Whenever the finals come to a conclusion, whether it finishes in 5 games, 6 games, 7 games, things are going to pick up and there's going to be some surprises. And I can't wait, Keith. I can't wait for the RKO out of nowhere. The, oh my God, where did that come from? Move that none of us were anticipating, it's going to be a fun summer. I think we're in store for an exciting one.
Yeah, my body clock, what is it? The circadian rhythms are already attuned to when I hear the little Twitter notification. Like I just jump, right? And I'm already oh man, I'm ready. So
I need some kind of alert system or something like that because sleeping is dangerous. Like within the next few weeks, sleeping is going to be dangerous. I need something some type of system that wakes me up. I don't know what it's going to have to be. I'll figure something out.
This because I've said this for years, especially when we're doing like the opening night of free agency. We're doing our live show at usually sometime after midnight on the East Coast. I used to always say we should have Woj Shams. Should have back in the day. Now it could just be Shams or maybe Shams and a couple others. Just tweet out, okay, we're done for the night.
Yes.
Everybody go to bed.
Yep.
Right, see you tomorrow morning.
Set hours. Nothing will be reported during. But the problem is somebody would break the ceasefire in order to beat someone else to it, and then it would all be, all hell would break loose again.
Yeah, but that's what we need. Is we need this is designated sleep time, and we're all going to bed, and you're not going to miss anything, and be back up at 7 a.m. and let's go.
All right, let's jump over here. The Cavs reported to be open to trading Darius Garland. Plus, we got a health update on him yesterday. He's in danger of missing the beginning of the season due to his toe injuries, had to get surgery. So that could be a complicating factor here. May also cause the Cavs to feel a little bit more determined to bring Ty Jerome back. So that'll be something to watch there. But what are your thoughts on the Cavs maybe moving on from Darius Garland and ironically breaking up the Garland-Mitchell backcourt a year after the rumors that Darius Garland didn't want to be in a backcourt with Donovan Mitchell? That was last summer, if you remember that.
Yeah, my thoughts are that the Cavs are about $14 million over the second apron right now. Before we do much of anything else. That's before we re-sign Ty Jerome or anything. That's a lot. Like you're now up in the Boston territory. Like you're starting to play as one of the absolute most expensive teams in the league. And that tells me we're probably in a world where you at least need to be open to the conversation. I have to wonder is because this was the order too, leaked out that they were open to it. I think that was again Windy had that one. Then it came out right after the Cavs, like the next day, the Cavs released Darius Garland had toe surgery. So now
a little Zach LaVine situation there,
maybe. And then we get the next day. It's hey, the Cavs may feel pressure to re-sign Ty Jerome. Now, what I just said, they're way over the second apron, and that's before you sign Ty Jerome, who's probably getting something in the range of, let's say 8 to 14 million, right? We'll split the difference and call it 10, 12, but like something in that range probably. So now we're in a position where you do that. You're 26, you're way over the apron and you're extremely expensive. So my guess is maybe the Cavs are, hey, this guy's had injury. This is now it's not like, oh no, this is John Wall levels of injuries.
Sure.
This is multiple years in a row. Darius Garland's dealt with some form of relatively serious injury. The couple of them were weird. Like he had the broken jaw when he ran into a screen. Like I don't even know what you do with that. But and I'm glad you just pulled up the cap sheet here over on the YouTube channel. And that's where people have been saying, why are they so expensive now? Well, Mobley and Mitchell, They both jumped 30% of the cap maxes. You have Garland at 39. You got Hunter at 23. You have Jared Allen at 20. You have Max Strus at 16. You got a Coro at 11. You're going to have to start to reduce that somewhere. Now, you could do that piecemeal. You could do a Strus trade and say, we have Hunter. You know what? We'll resign Sam Merrill and kind of replace Strus that way, and we'll move on from him, or we'll move a Coro, and you just kind of start chipping away at it. But the bigger way would be, all right, let's move on from Darius Garland, and we'll take back $25 million in a trade over the 40 that he's going to make.
And the way that it could make sense is, in particular, if they were getting back a more defensive-oriented guard in the backcourt, because then you could sell, well, you know what, Garland, Mitchell, it's not a big enough backcourt. It's not a defensive enough backcourt. We really need somebody who can play defense at a high level there. Let's go get somebody. And I know there's been talk about, what internet talk, right, about Jalen Suggs or someone like that. But we've also got word that, like the Sacramento Kings are interested in getting a long-term fit at point guard. Could there be something there that might net, again, his salary is way, way less, but could in a package net like a Keon Ellis or someone like that coming back. So I do think that there could be not just financial sense, but some basketball sense for moving on from Darius Garland that could put the Cavs in a situation where they're actually better next season by moving him both on the court and in terms of their books.
Yeah, and I would say the same possibility exists with Jared Allen too. There's a world where moving Jared Allen makes the most sense if you're going to do something big, right? If you're going to make a major move, let's make a big move. Now, they got DeAndre Hunter. That was a pretty big in-season trade, just there, but it did sap their depth a little bit. Like, just look at what you have pulled up right now. For those who aren't watching on YouTube, you've got Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. Those are your two starting bigs. That's pretty good. But you don't really have anything behind him. Dean Wade's much more of a 3 than he is a 4, and he's certainly not a 5. So now it's like, all right, we need at least one more big here in the fold. So you've got to add some depth. There's no backup, really no backup guards of note on this group. The best real backup ball handler is Craig Porter Jr. at this point, because Jerome's a free agent. Sam Merrill, their shooting specialist, is a free agent. So you've got work to do to round this team out. You don't blow it up. You're way too good for that. But just rebalance a little bit. Yeah, could completely make sense. Now, the challenge becomes, what team is, all right, we're okay with Darius Garland showing up in Thanksgiving, right? Like, is when he can start playing, somewhere around there, a month or so into the season. I mean, there should be plenty of teams. I'm not going to stress too much over the first month, especially if I'm a good team. But yeah, and like, I know the Magic stuff was out there, and some people have already kind of shot that down, but that's the kind of move, if I was the Magic, I'd be a lot more interested in, because that is a rebalance. I'd start out with, hey, can we do Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and like Wendell Carter Jr. or Goga Batadze, and try to kind of round out your depth a little bit more that way. And we'll plus it up with maybe a draft pick or two, because the Magic are in a sneaky good position to trade a couple draft picks, because their roster is pretty stuffed. Like, they're going to run out of roster spots fairly soon. So I think they're in a spot where, yeah, maybe you do something like that, and then that puts you in a little bit better of a position if you're Orlando. And if you're Cleveland, it's like, yeah, it wasn't an overwhelming return, but we cleaned up our salary structure and we were able to add some depth to our team.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. I could see something like that happening with Darius Garland. And again, the Orlando Magic, we expect them to be a pretty active team out there on the market this summer. Okay, let's jump over here because we still have a lot to get to here. Let's go to this. The Knicks want Jason Kidd to be their next head coach. What is it with the Knicks and only targeting coaches that are already under contract with other teams? Like are they just blasting that Rick Springfield song "Jesse's Girl" nonstop, or what's happening here? Yes, I'm old, but so the Knicks wanting Jason Kidd. Doesn't this all just come down to whether or not the Mavs are okay with? I mean, I guess I'm assuming at this point Jason Kidd has some level of interest. Otherwise, this wouldn't have gone this far. So doesn't this just come down to whether or not the Mavs are okay with letting Jason Kidd go?
Yeah, probably to some extent. Our guy Mark Stein's been all over this
Yeah.
from the beginning. Like, in I recommend his Substack, especially working with Jake Fisher on there. A lot of good intel stuff in there with that. And I phrased it to someone the other day. There's a lot of they do quite a bit of breaking news too, but they're also a little bit like ahead, like leading into whatever the breaking news is, where it's like, Knicks want Jason Kidd. They may not be the ones who actually break the Knicks are hiring Jason Kidd, although
Yeah.
Stein may, because it's Dallas related item. But like it's like, hey, we told you this may happen, and now here we are. And Mark and Jake do great work with that stuff there, in addition to breaking their own news. But I think there's two parts here. One, is Dallas willing to let him go? And is Dallas going to insist upon some form of return with draft picks? We talked about, I think, last Friday or maybe last Thursday. Jason Kidd was the last coach traded in there. He was traded for 2 second-round picks when he wanted out of the Nets contract. And it's funny because, like, even if you ask the NBA, they're like, it's not really a trade. It's just more of compensation for allowing somebody to go. But
It's
whatever,
effectively, it's a trade. It's yeah.
So then when we get into it with, like, could Dallas demand something? What would they demand? Do they want to, hey, you want him bad enough? We want a first. And if you're the Knicks, that gets a little harder to deliver because they're out all those first round picks from the Mikal Bridges and Karl-Anthony Towns trades. So that's where I think it, becomes a little bit of a balancer. Clearly, if Kidd really wants to go there and the Knicks want him, I don't think Dallas is going to do too much to keep him around, because that just has disaster written all over it. But
yeah, and if a first, I can't imagine them. Like, he got 2 seconds before. Yeah. Like, I don't think their first would be realistic. But yeah, I think you're right. I think if Jason Kidd says, I don't want to be there, there's something to that. Where do we really want a coach who doesn't want to be here? And there's some reporting that Kidd, maybe didn't like that he had to be kind of the front-facing guy in the wake of all the Luka trade turmoil, and felt like he kind of got, thrown to the wolves to a degree.
Here's what's funny about that, though. If he goes to New York,
he's going to be that big time.
Talk to the media.
He doesn't talk at all. Yep. Yep.
I don't even know that Leon Rose would talk to the media post game at the NBA Finals if the Knicks won the championship at this point. And that gets people riled up, because some people are like, why does he have to talk to the media? Well, it's just part of the job. Like, you just, you want people to understand. And that was one of the things that Tibbs got a lot of credit for with New York, was he was a guy who stood up there when they made the Bridges trade, when they made the Towns trade. He was the one who answered all the questions, even though he didn't make the trade. Like, he's, dealing with all the fallout. It's not necessarily the right word, because those were, trades people were excited about, but like, yeah, he was the one there. So now we're in a spot where, all right, Jason Kidd, you didn't like being the spokesperson for the entire organization. Guess what you're going to do in the biggest media market in the country? You're going to do it for, arguably the, team that has probably the single biggest media base following them day to day in the country, in New York. So yeah, good luck with that. If you don't want to do that, and you just want to be Coach Jason Kidd, I don't know that that's gonna be how it plays out.
What team would be the best team to go to if you really want to get softball questions? You don't, well, maybe softball questions is going too far, but you don't want to have the blinding lights to have to face those every single day. Which team is the best for a coach that does not want to spend a lot of time talking to media?
I mean, here in Orlando, there's been a lot of games over the years. Now it's changing as the team's getting better again. There's been a lot of games over the years where there's been like the one paper in town is there, the in-house media member, and then a couple of the blogs that cover the team, and then maybe me and like 2 other people who cover the league as a whole. Like, and that's it. Like, and then I can't tell you how many games I've been to there where the visiting media is like 10 times the amount of what's there for Magic related media. Just Magic, the Thunder are another one. The Thunder also PR group does a pretty good job of controlling things there. And I'm not criticizing. I'm not calling that out as a bad thing by any means, but they just do a pretty good job of, hey guys, we said 5 questions. It's 5 questions. We're going. Like, we're not going to turn this into a all day thing. But part of that is also when they don't have anything pressing, a lot of the people with the Thunder they'll talk for. I mean, Sam Presti's end of season pressers and then his preseason media availability, he's done multiple of those where it's like, hey, we're going to do like a 3-hour session where like I'll just ask every question you want. I'm not going anywhere until we answer all these, but I'm not coming back next Tuesday either. Like, we're going to do it now. So get your stuff out there. So, but that's the give and take. But yeah, definitely New York would be at the very bottom of that list. Like New York, LA, like Boston, Philly, anywhere too, where the media tends to be a lot more cynical. Boston, Philly, New York.
Yeah.
All the Northeast cities where you can't go outside for half of the year.
It's understandable.
Too cold and
it might get a little cranky there.
Yeah.
So the Knicks, Jason Kidd, we'll see ultimately where this goes. If they're able to get him or not, it'll probably come down to the Mavs and what they want to do there. One way, I mean, we're either going to be talking about a Knicks coaching search renewed or a Mavs coaching search, right? Suddenly the Mavs would have to pivot and find a coach then, which would be fascinating. If you're Jason Kidd, what would you rather do? Let's say the Mavs just go to Kidd and say, whatever you want, we'll do. You can go to New York or you can stay here. It's in your court. What do you do there?
I think I'd stay in Dallas. He's established there now. You're getting Cooper Flag. Like, let's see this thing through for a while, right? Let's, this is the wrong term, but I'll attach myself to his star for the next, I don't know, 5-6 years. Like, it's a coach, so it's not going to be a decade long, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe they win enough that it turns into he never goes anywhere. Who knows?
But if I'm Kidd, I kind of, I downplay, go, well, I think I'd like to stay, but you could definitely convince me if you tack a couple of years onto my contract. Let's do that. Let's do that.
Yeah. Okay, give me a new car, right? Like,
right?
Yeah.
Right.
What was it? Chrysler Baron that Michael Scott had? Convertible?
In that climate?
Yeah.
Remember that? In this climate, it's a ridiculous choice. Oh, such a good show. All right. The Pistons, and by the way, so this is just completely off track here, but office related for my sister's birthday this year, and it hasn't arrived yet, but I know it's going to be coming soon, so it's belated. She hasn't listened to the show, so I don't have to worry about it. I got her a autographed copy of the pilot episode script of The Office,
that's awesome.
Autographed by John Krasinski. So she's I can't wait for it to arrive. I'm like on pins and needles waiting for it to show up.
That's awesome.
Okay. The Pistons and Hawks have interest in Miles Turner. What's funny is that came out, and then like a few hours later, Shams Charania was talking about, well, the Pacers they'll pay the tax in order to keep Miles Turner, and he's going to stay in Indiana. Like Indiana reacted very quickly to kind of shut that down. But there are teams that are going to be interested in Miles Turner. I think it makes sense too, if you are Miles Turner, to make sure everybody knows that other teams are interested, to make sure Indiana gives you what you want. I don't think he's leaving the Pacers, but should he decide to look around, there's some other teams that will show interest. Even like the Pacers, the Hawks, I don't know cap-wise how they even get there to a free agent offer for Miles Turner.
The Hawks,
it gets a little tricky.
Yeah, the Hawks would probably have to be a sign and trade because they're fairly well over the cap, but they've got enough wiggle room under the aprons that they could do it that way. And there's, let's just say, some guys on Atlanta's roster I think that could maybe interest Indiana. But it's funny, if I'm Miles Turner, I'd be like, hey, there's people interested in me. And if I'm Kevin Pritchard in the Pacers front office, I'd be like, really, the decade of trade rumors didn't let us know that people were interested in you. Like, and hopefully us keeping you through a decade of trade rumors, means something. I will be shocked if Miles Turner isn't a Pacer next year.
Yeah, same.
So I think we'll be in a spot where we see him, back there. The reason I tagged this was just little interesting. Pistons and Hawks, kind of more, let's take the Turner part out of it, or in on a big. I think it was Jake Fisher had Pistons are also interested in Naz Reid, and there was somebody else, and now it's
Santi Aldama.
Santi Aldama, yes. Again, probably would have to be sign and trades. and I just wrote the Pistons offseason preview a couple days ago for Spot Track. It's up there right now. And I broke down their kind of, if they go the cap space route, that'd really be to give Malik Beasley more money and keep him. And, and I really went into a lot of detail on the different paths Detroit can go down. But yeah, they could get involved. And you could even do something like, hey, we're going to bring in Nasri, but we're going to send out Isaiah Stewart in that trade and just rebalance a little, because Stewart, he will step out and shoot it, but still more of an interior player. And he's very close to what Jalen Durant gives them. So then it turns into, all right, let's get somebody a little bit different, like Turner or Reed or Aldama, who's more of a stretch big in here. Aldama's a restricted free agent, so that adds a whole nother layer of complexity to this. But yeah, it's just more interesting that these guys are there. And I think with the Hawks, this probably signals, see you later, Clint Capella. I think we're headed there anyway. But we're going to run with a Kongwu and somebody else who complements him as a backup.
Right. Yeah. I've been expecting the Hawks to move on from Clint Capella, and he's going to wind up signing somewhere in free agency, probably for an exception, whether it's taxpayer, full MLE, whatever. We'll see him sign somewhere. I'd be
surprised if it was the full MLE.
Yeah. I mean, but it could, maybe I shouldn't say full. I should say a portion of, like, could a team come in and offer, just to beat teams that have the 5.7 million, could you offer 7 a year or something? You know what I mean? Like something like that. I wouldn't go the full 14 or 14.1. I wouldn't do that. But
and it gets a little tricky. We don't exactly know where the Lakers would fall cap wise. Capella makes some sense for them.
Sure.
If they're not going in another direction, especially if you could get them for the taxpayer MLE or less. Like if you could somehow get them on a minimum, sign me up all day.
Yeah.
Because then easy. We say this all the time about teams with minimum signings. If it doesn't work out, you just waive them and move on to whoever's next. Like, so could get a little tight, a little tricky, but hey, he makes sense just as a rim hopping big man. I don't know that he's rim runner anymore. I don't know that he's quite that level, but he's still
rim jogger.
Yeah, jogger. Yeah. Slightly at the rim instead of above the rim, maybe.
I think it's or is it pronounced? I think it's pronounced yogging with a silent J. Yeah. Oh no. Okay. Zach Edey
hasn't even started yet.
I know.
We shouldn't laugh because this isn't funny.
No.
This is
this is not funny. So Zach Edey, and I was talking to folks in Memphis yesterday. I mean, just beside themselves. They're like, what do we have to do here? Like, just injury after injury after injury after injury. Zach Edey out to start the season. Ankle surgery. He sprained his ankle again, and so they said they need to restabilize the injury. So he's going to be out for the start of the year now. The Grizzlies, I made the point, this isn't just you've lost Zach Edey for the start of the season. And maybe he's back. I don't know when he'll be back. Maybe it's November. Maybe he's back in mid-November or something, and he misses, 12 games or something like that. And you could say, well, okay, that's not that bad. But he's missing a summer of development. He just got in his first NBA season where now you can stop, take stock of things and say, okay, the season told me I need to improve on this, and these things, right? And then you can go work on those things over the summer. That opportunity is now gone. And so I think that may end up being the even more damaging thing here for the Grizzlies and for the progression and the growth of Zach Edey. It's that now he's missing out on an important offseason for development. Just rough news. You hate seeing it for all the reasons, but man, the Memphis Grizzlies just can't catch a break on the injury front. Maybe I shouldn't use the word break. I don't mean to put that on you. Yikes.
Yeah, and it is. Yeah, this is just feels like something always is going on with Grizzly players. And to your point, because I had the same conversation, somebody's like, "Yeah, so he misses summer league. Is that big of a deal?" No, missing summer league. Who really cares?
I don't even know if he would play in summer league for sure.
And he might have done one of those. Already showed up and played
cameo
a couple games, and then he's out of there. It's a much bigger deal that, like you said, it's that entire summer of development, because this is not this is not something where, all right, it's his left hand and like he's still going to be able to work on his shooting and his conditioning and all that stuff. He's going to be off his feet for, I imagine, at least probably 4 to 6 weeks. And then a pretty lengthy recovery after that. So, and this is a huge guy. I mean, he's 7'4" and, 300 pounds or whatever he is. So, like, this is going to take him a while probably to come back. The good news is all indications are this is one of those ones where we do this and now this should not be a problem again. He may roll an ankle again, but it sounds like he was running into the old Steph Curry world of he didn't even need to do very much to sprain an ankle. So now it sounds like we're going to fix this. This will solve this, and we move forward. And that's good for the Grizzlies. Yeah, let's see what it means. Him being out at the start of the year, does that mean he misses training camp and the beginning? Also, Tomas Isolo, first training camp, right? Important training camp to fully install all the things he wants to do. Edey's not going to be a part of it. Could change Memphis's decision making now because now you're looking at it. It's Jaren Jackson Jr., Brandon Clark, who, let's remember, was hurt at the end of last season again with a knee injury. Aldama's a restricted free agent. So that leaves kind of the only two bigs on the roster, Jaren Jackson Jr. and Jay Huff. Jay Huff's fine if he's your third or fourth center. If you're starting to have to start him or play him 25 minutes a night in a backup role, that's not great. So maybe Memphis now in the market for a big that they wouldn't have been otherwise. So we'll see. But, let's hope Zach Edey gets healthy and gets back. And, we don't have to deal with any of these kind of things moving forward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So unfortunate news there. We should have done this one earlier so we didn't have to end on a downer. But that said, we had a lot to get through today. We appreciate everybody for joining the show. Make sure you do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. And we'll see, Keith. We got the NBA Finals resuming tomorrow. We've got obviously a busy time of year in the NBA, so I'm excited for what's to come here. But thank you, everybody, for joining once again. Hit that subscribe button. Till next time. See ya, and stay safe.